Dust, wind, and fires on the way. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing some things again this week. Let's talk about it in this Monday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Happy Monday. It is the 17th of March, 2025. I'm Texas Storm Chasers Baldy-in-Chief David Reimer. I hope you all had a good weekend. Yes, we did have some more fire issues over the weekend. We had the fire north of Fredericksburg in the Hill Country. That, thankfully, has been all but stopped at this point. Crews have a pretty good line around the fire. Over 55% containment, and that just simply means everything has been mopped up. And the overall expectation is that fire as a whole shouldn't be doing anything particularly mischievous. Crews had a pretty good work day yesterday. On Sunday, continued doing some work into Sunday night with lower winds, increased humidity, which is good because as we get into today, we are going to see critical fire danger return to the western half of the state of Texas. Tomorrow, same story. Tomorrow's danger may even be higher. So we are expecting an uptick in new initial attack activity, new ignitions, wildfire starts, and we'll, of course, also have to keep an eye on the ongoing fires, even those that have full containment, just in case a little bit of mischief attempts to occur. Here's the wildfire outlook. This is from the Texas A&M Forest Service. You can see today, pretty much for all intent and purposes, everyone except southeast Texas, the Golden Triangle, and the Piney Woods are in high, very high to extreme wildfire danger. This does mean another very active day is possible. Now, the differences between this and, say, Friday or, well, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now, is we're not going to be doing 70-mile-an-hour winds. That being said, we're going to have very dry air. We are still going to have gusty winds, and the fact we haven't had rain recently, and the fact we've had multiple days now of, well, pre-treatment of these surface fuels means things really are quite crunchy and will burn very, very, very easily. And thus, even though we may not have 80-mile-an-hour winds, these things are still going to book it if they get going. Tuesday, very high to extreme fire danger. For all intent and purposes, and for simplicity's sake, we're just going to say the whole stinking state. And then Wednesday, same story. Very high to extreme fire danger across all of Texas. Yes, some of you did get rain in the last couple weeks, but guess what? It's very dry. It's going to be very dry all week. And with warm temperatures, gusty winds at times, I mean, welcome to the spring wildfire season. This one's a doozy. Clearly, it is not just limited to the Panhandle and West Texas, as those of you who had to deal with the smoke over the weekend in parts of central Texas have now noticed. Remember, fire weather is severe weather. It may not have the sexy appeal of, tornadoes, big hail, but guess what? It can do a lot of damage and be quite impactful in a multitude of ways, which is why we treat it so seriously. Fire danger is going to remain very high to extreme all week. We may see a bit of a lull on Thursday. Things go right back up on Friday and Saturday as we deal with a frontal intrusion. Now, something to note, going into Wednesday, we're going to have a front moving in from the northwest. Any ongoing fires, we're going to have a wind shift, and we may have some pretty strong winds with that frontal boundary coming in out of the northwest, which could create a problem for the southern flanks of any ongoing incidents, as those could become the heads of the fire with a wind shift. Let's just take a look. High-res rapid refresh model is going to be for today, tonight, going into Tuesday. Again, it's not going to rain. There's no rain here. I'm just showing you this for, well, tradition's sake. We're going to have some upper-level clouds at times. You can see those little wind arrows on there. I could have made them larger, but that would have been too kind of me, apparently. You can see eastern two-thirds of the state, we're going to have mostly south to southwesterly winds. Western third of the state, winds may veer and become more westerly at times, especially during the afternoon hours. Same thing on Tuesday. Boundary or cool front comes in Wednesday, bringing gusty northwest winds, and more importantly, a wind shift from the west or southwest to the northwest that could be impactful to any ongoing wildland fire incidents. Here's humidity values. Today, it is going to be drier than a popcorn fart statewide. Some humidity values, western half of the state will be in the single digits. Tonight, good humidity, good moisture recovery, southeastern half of the state will see humidity values up near 80% along the coast. Panhandle, West Texas, you're not going to see any recovery tonight, humidity-wise. I guess technically you are, because the humidity this afternoon of 4% in Amarillo will increase to 12%, maybe 20% by tomorrow morning before plummeting back into the single digits with very strong gusty winds. So any fires that do start today will continue to burn actively tonight, as humidity values will barely recover and will remain critical. We are going to have gusty winds today. We're going to have gusty winds tomorrow. And at times tomorrow, we could see winds gusting over 55 miles an hour in the Panhandle and West Texas out of the southwest. Going into Wednesday, we're going to see winds become northwesterly, and we could still have winds gusting over 50 miles an hour. So, again, while it's not 80-mile-an-hour winds, guess what? Because I've said guess what 50 times. Maybe just start a count or a bingo count. Those fires are going to book it. Even with moisture recovery, the southeastern half of the state tonight will see some mixing out by tomorrow afternoon. Humidity values tomorrow afternoon will remain higher than today for the southeastern half of the state, but it's still going to be windy, and fuels are still quite conducive to burn. So wildfire danger will remain very high to extreme this week. Here's the long-range American weather model, the global forecast system. System 1 passing by Wednesday. That's going to bring that northwesterly wind shift to the state. Pockets of snow across Kansas into Missouri. St. Louis had multiple significant tornadoes on Saturday. Guess what? Or I guess Friday night into Saturday. Guess what? They're going to probably have some snow Wednesday evening. You can see we're not going to get any precipitation out of that system. Going into Thursday, southerly winds return to the state. Not much going on there. It's dry. We just don't have moisture. We're not going to have enough moisture on Wednesday for storms. Going into the weekend, Friday, dry. Saturday, I think it's probably going to be dry. Going into Sunday, now realize we're talking 6-7 days out, so I'm sure this will find a way to go into the trash can, but another storm system, this one pushing a boundary, cool front south. GFS indicates maybe we'll have enough moisture to squeak out a few storms. Southeast Texas, the coastal plains, the Golden Triangle. Sunday, we'll see. It's not good when we're having to look 6-7 days out for a sign of rain chances, so it's just something we're going to have to wait and see on. Clearly, we are not looking at any sort of widespread or meaningful precipitation in the state of Texas over the next 5 days. We're having to go out 6 to 7 days just to find some hope of maybe a quarter inch of rain in the Arklatex, East Texas. And otherwise, this is forecast rain totals over the next 7 days. Guess what? You see that whole big blank space over Texas? Zero, zilch, nada. Uh-oh. This ain't good. This is not good at all. This is how we end up with even worse fire danger going into the final weeks of March when we get more wind makers. By the way, I neglected to mention it, but as we deal with these systems over the next several days, guess what? Expect blowing dust tomorrow. Expect blowing dust Wednesday. We may even have some blowing dust today. Now, given the fact we're dealing with 50-mile-an-hour winds instead of 80, hopefully we're not going to have the crazy wall of dust of doom that we had on Friday. But guess what? We're probably still going to see some dust lofted across the western half of the state, and some of that, especially later this week with that cool front, may make it down in here. If that cold front comes blasting southeast through Texas with 40 to 50-mile-an-hour winds, it's going to bring half of Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico, and the Panhandle's dust with it, which means some dust on Wednesday. Isn't that great? Absolutely not. It is not great. It is bad, bad, bad. But at the same time, we have cycles. Some winters and springs were crazier than a pancake on IHOP National Pancake Day, and some springs we are dry. And this seems to be one of the drier cycles. We go through these. We've been doing this, 16 years now? I can't tell you how many times we've gone through this cycle. But just because we're not dealing with severe storms like folks out east did over the weekend doesn't mean we're not having impacts. I mean, whole sweet mama mercy. We had a few fires on Friday in the Panhandle, and they burned, 9 to 30,000 acres. Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, they had a full-fledged firestorm. They had major wildland-urban interface incidents with dozens, if not hundreds of structures that burned, people dead. I mean, good gravy. Guess what? That's what we're going to be looking at over the coming weeks if we don't get rain. And we're probably not going to get rain. Here's the forecast high temperatures today, 70s and 80s statewide. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You can get these forecasts for your immediate area, no matter where you are in the country, by the way, with the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers or you download apps to your device. A bit of compressional heating tomorrow with those extremely critical fire danger, western half of the state. Upper 80s and 90s. Everyone else here in the 70s. Cool front starts coming in Wednesday. You can see it actually does pack a bit of a punch. It's only going to be in the 50s. On Wednesday in the Panhandle and West Texas, which is, a 30, 40-degree temperature drop compared to parts of the region that saw temperatures in the 90s. There you go. 60s, northwestern half of the state. Still 70s and 80s, southeastern half of the state. That cold front continues pushing southeast, probably bringing some dust with it because wind. Thursday's high temperatures statewide, 60s and 70s, but very dry air mass. Maybe calmer fire conditions, hopefully. And then on Friday, we're all back in the 70s and 80s, and probably fire danger because, yay! And here's the forecast long-range precipitation outlook for the 24th through 30th of March. Below average precipitation chances here in the state of Texas. And, I mean, it is what it is. It's not good. We'll probably get active in April. We'll probably start having storm systems, but, I mean, with this fire condition, this drought, I'm not particularly confident this is going to be a precipitous spring for the western half of the state, and we'll have to see the eastern half of the state. The more we have this dry weather continue, the easier it's going to be for these systems to push the dry line farther east through Texas. And, in previous drought/fire springs we've had over the years, we've seen that dry line easily push east of Interstate 35 to I-45 and points east during the afternoon some days because of how dry it is, and then we just have more fires. But all cycles break, they do, and, droughts here usually end in floods. It's just, when is that going to be? Not anytime soon, I'm afraid. All right, that's going to be it for your Monday edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Again, the extreme fire danger is back, so we're going to do our best to keep you up to date on new fires that develop. We'll do our best to share hotspot maps, evacuation info, all that stuff as it occurs, because guess what? Fire weather is severe weather, and, we'll do our best. I know folks are starting to kind of get the hint now that we have a bit of an issue since, we had smoke settle into Austin, the Brazos Valley, San Antonio on Saturday. But guess what? Parts of the state have been dealing with this for a couple months now, and we're all going to be dealing with it over the next few weeks. You can always get your local weather forecast, interactive weather radar, daily Texas weather roundups, and more in the free Texas Storm Chasers mobile app. Just search for Texas Storm Chasers or you download apps to your device. You can find us on the web, TexasStormChasers.com. We'll be back bright and early on Tuesday with your next edition of the Texas Weather Roundup. Y'all have a great Monday. Stay safe. Remember, just keep an eye out for wildfires in your area. Do what the local emergency officials tell you to do, and we'll get through it. That's it. Y'all have a good one. Adios. Au revoir. I'll be your Zane. God bless.